Todd is a kind of person where you sit down with him, and when you have a conversation, you're the only person that matters.
To be as successful as someone like Todd is, you have to be, I think, a really, really good listener. And I've been in grocery stores that we've been there for 2 hours to just grab a couple things because he is stopped by someone that their brothers, uncles, nephews, cousin works for him, and how grateful they are to him, and he'll sit there and talk to them for as long as it takes him to get their story out, because he genuinely wants to know what their story is.
He sincerely cared about everyone around him, no matter what their position was in life or in the company. He cared about them. Anyone that spends time with Todd, you'll notice that.
And I used to work at Chevron gas station, and I used to weigh over 400 pounds. One day, he just stopped me and pulled me aside. He's all, would you like to ever bet on yourself? If you can get down to 250 pounds, I'll give you 10 grand. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And so I started to go see this trainer, but at that time, I was actually trying out for the TV show called Extreme Weight Loss on ABC. And I came back after my 90-day reveal, and I was under the 250 mark. He was like, I guess I owe you some money, huh? And I was like, dude, you don't owe me anything, man. Like, literally, I got selected for the show. It was like a dream come true.
Todd was always someone who just had this raw ability to always continue to move forward and to inspire people to move forward.
He was always raising the bar, and what I loved about having the privilege of being around him is that made me raise my bar, and that made the leaders around me raise their bar, and that made the executives and all team members raise their bar, and we all believed that we could do it because Todd told us we could.
I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for seeing something in me and giving me an opportunity. And now I have a beautiful wife, and I just had a newborn baby. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about you giving me that opportunity and changing my life. You don't realize how much you really have made the impact in my life. And I just hope you just enjoy this celebration of your life and everything you've done for everybody. So thank you.
Hi, Andy. I had to find my wife and my daughter. There's Elliot. What's up?
So this, what everybody doesn't know here today is that this conference is probably inspired. I would say this is Todd's conference. And the reason I would say that is, he's number one of one for me. As far as all of us have people already, people in our life that believed in us more than we believed in ourselves. And that was Todd and Andy, for me and Chelsea. When it was 2007 and the world had just ended financially. And I worked for this little company that went bankrupt, and we were doing door-to-door sales. And in the course of a month, lost all of our savings. The people that we worked with, no one could get paid. The company had gone out of business. And we were in a house that we were building a house, and just got caught in the financial cycle, and we were underwater. And so in the course, at a 24-year-old, it was a really scary time. And I remember meeting with Todd, and he just said, no, you got this, and he just believed in me. And that was, I worked with Todd for, still work with him, but worked with him for 17 years, and just had a front row seat at how to live an abundant life. And so for me, it's a gift. Anytime that we're, doing meetings, we get to, invite who we want to invite. And I'm always inviting Todd because it's a story that needs to be told. And so this is a real treat for me. And so thank you for coming always when I ask. And I really do love you like a brother. So
love you too, Casey.
Anyway, we're going to get into some of the stuff that I know these stories. You guys don't know these stories, and they're so fun to talk about. But I want you to talk about your dad, and specifically being 21 years old and going to college. And I want to start there because this is the entrepreneurial journey. And so go back to that time, and like
when I got
yeah, the lessons you learned, and also just kind of
Yeah. So well, first of all, I don't know why I need to say this, but my wife's sitting right there. What did I tell you this morning, or was last night? I was walking down the steps of our house alone. I don't know. I was just kind of wandering because I had nothing to do. But anyway, the thought just hit me like, if I didn't have Andy in my life, I'd have no purpose. So I just wanted to say that again to my wife because she's so, like, Andy is amazing. Like, truly amazing. And I love her to death. So I didn't want to forget to say that. And I didn't tell her during the day because she was so busy. And then finally last night, I'm like, oh man, I remembered. Anyway, sorry about that. I kind of get distracted at times. But so first I want to say this about my dad. I grew up in a family of 11 children. And in Idaho Falls, Idaho. And I love my family and my experience because of what I'm learning more and more today from what I was able to live and experience with my mom and my dad as examples. Now, when I got off my mission, interestingly, I had a mission president that was that person to me that said, you've got something special. You can create something special. In fact, I demand when you get off your mission that you build something special that will impact a lot of people's lives. You need to do something big and great. Didn't know what that was at the time, but that was kind of his mandate to me. And through my life, by the way, would periodically call me and say, hey, I hear what's going on. You're not doing enough. You have more in you. You're slacking, and in all areas. I mean, he was a kind of a tough person that way. But so when I get off my mission, I kind of have this mindset that I'm going to start a business or do something impactful. I get home, and I think it's like 2 days after I show up or I get released from my mission, I'm sitting with two of my sisters and my mom at the kitchen table, and we're just chatting. And one of my sisters asked, "Well, now that you're done with the mission, like, what's next?" Well, I kind of throw out this, idea and concept of I'm going to start a business. And I did have a couple little ideas, and I'm going to start making money, and this is how it's going to work. And anyway, talking about, my future and money and business. And my sister starts crying. And I'm a little bit confused, and my mom gets a little upset, and I'm super, super confused. And my mom or my sister said, "You haven't changed a bit. You didn't change at all in your mission. You're talking about business and, starting a business and making money right now. You just got home from your mission." And my perspective was, well, I'm released. I'm moving on. It's time to charge hard because that was the mandate from my mission president. So my father comes home from work. He's an orthodontist, middle of the day, and what I'm going to tell you is he was about to deliver the biggest gift he could have given me. I don't know if he saw it that way in my life. It literally shaped and changed my life. He comes home, and to give you some background, I was a very difficult child growing up. Not easy. I got in trouble a lot. I think my parents probably forgot that over the years, but always in trouble. I was maybe one of the 11 kids that probably stressed my parents out the most. But he comes home, and he said, "Look, you flunked out of your freshman year at BYU," which I actually didn't. I just skied every day. But one of my sisters ratted me out because we had a lot of classes together, and I never went to class because I was pretty good at taking tests and passing, and attendance was not required. So my dad, he comes home and he's like, "Look, we're done with you. You're going to, I'm taking you to Provo tomorrow. Do you have a job? Do you have lined up?" And I'd just been home a few days. "Do you have a place to live?" "No, I just got home a few days ago." And he's like, well, I'm giving you a drive down there. And so I'm scrambling. There's no internet back then. There's no cell phones. I somehow get a hold of a missionary companion of mine, Brent Bartholomew. And he had just gotten married. I end up going, my dad drops me off at their home as a little single bedroom studio in a basement of kind of this house. And my dad drops me off. And when I say this is no exaggeration. I didn't have $5. I didn't have, I had like a pair of shoes, some ratty mission clothes, a few t-shirts. That's everything I owned. That was it. But I did have a place to sleep on a couch, with the Afghan and a pretty lumpy pillow, which I appreciated. But here's the gift. My parents, they released me from all obligation to both ways, to have dependency or a backup or something that could save me financially in any way. I was completely on my own. No resources. I didn't have a lot of skills other than the work ethic that my parents had taught me. Didn't know what I was going to do. And I can tell you the first morning I woke up at Brent and Susan's home, I was hungry. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a car. I felt it was not depression. It was desperation. Desperation and hunger, and I actually was hungry. And they made me an omelet, which was amazing. I've told you that before. I was so hungry. And they were in bed still because they're a newlywed couple doing whatever they were doing back there. I don't even know what it was, but sounded weird. But I wasn't married yet, so I didn't know what was going on. But that first meal I had, this is going to sound strange, but Susan made me an omelet, and there was cheese on the counter. This is weird stuff, but it's like the stuff I remember. And I wanted cheese on my omelet so bad, but I was raised in a family where you don't ask for things. And she finally offered. And my gratitude and appreciation was like a 10. And that was the best tasting omelet because I had nothing. I was a beggar. I had nothing. I couldn't give them anything. I couldn't contribute to anything. I did quickly find a job. But the gift that my parents gave me of allowing me to completely be dependent on my own abilities and drive is something I don't think a lot of parents can do. And they had the resources to not make that choice, and they did it. And I didn't resent them. I'm thankful every single day for that happening because my life wouldn't be the same.
Talk about a couple years later when you were going to drop out of school and kind of the same dad, the same advice. Like what was kind of the lesson? You know what I mean? When you had decided you're going to drop out, you're going to go full time and start a business. And he kind of freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
He was like, did I go too far?
Yeah. So these moments kind of defined my life and my career, and there've been many of them. But I had started a company. First of all, I started sheetrocking right after I got home. Learned to do that and I did that with Brent. Then I started a little house cleaning business in Provo, and I'd hurt my shoulder, so I couldn't sheetrock anymore. And the house cleaning was good, but not great. And through a series of events, I started a little pest control marketing company. And no one was doing door-to-door at all. There was no solar, no pest, no smart home, no security, no satellite. None of that was happening. So it was a tough go because, one, people in this room, had you been there back in those days, would have said, who would ever go sell door-to-door? You can't make money doing that. Who would open their door to that? But I had started this company, and I was doing fairly well, and enough that I had enough money that I'm like, this is the start of whatever I'm going to do. Just had it. I knew it in my gut. I didn't know if that was going to be the exact path forever, but I had something and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the interaction with the salespeople and the struggle and the business issues that we had to deal with working with other companies, and I just ate it up. I just loved it. And then I'd go to class after the summers were over, and it wasn't fulfilling to me. It wasn't engaging. I didn't feel like, and I'm not opposed to school, by the way. I'm 100% education first. All of us get educated a bit differently. But I still remember I was sitting in a political science class, and the teacher was talking about something with Hitler, and I don't even know. And I just didn't care. And I had a 30-page paper due, like the next Tuesday. And I'm like, I don't want to do that paper. And this class is not giving me the skill set that I need or I want to go where I want to go. And I stood up out of class. I still remember it. My chair squeaked a little bit, and I stood up, walked out of class, never went back. I'm not sure who told my parents I dropped out of school.
Same sister?
It probably was the same sister, Lynette. I don't think she's here, but or it was Lynette or Stephanie, because there was one of them. I've never asked. Anyway, they ratted me out again. So my mom calls me, and she said, "Hey, you've dropped out of school. Oh my goodness, what are you thinking?" And I'm like, "Well, I started this business, and it's what I'm gonna do." And she's like, "Oh, wow, we're kind of like, not we're sorry, but hey, we are willing to, I've talked to Dad, pay for your school and your education if you'll go back to school. We don't want you to drop out. Kind of like we're sorry we did that and it forced you in the direction where you can't afford to go to school." Well, the reality is that year I dropped out. I mean, I made like $400,000. Like after everyone was paid and everything, like take home. This is like my second year in business. And I ended up using that money to buy some real estate where I made a bunch more money. But I didn't tell my mom, "Hey, I made probably more than my dad did that year." We didn't talk about that. I just said, "No, it's not interesting. It's what I'm doing." My dad then calls me and he says, "Hey, I'm driving down to Provo to talk to you about school." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great." And my dad, he was a very quiet man, but very intimidating because he was a man of the spirit, and he was so astute about everything. And so I was a bit nervous. My dad's coming down to talk to me, have a real talk. And he drives down, it's 2.5 hour drive, drives down. It was a very, very short meeting, by the way. I still remember, we sit on the lawn outside of the condominium place I was living on, and my dad, he sat there for a minute, didn't say anything. And he said, so you're dropping out of school? And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You have no interest in going back to school?" And I said, "No." And he sat there and thought, and I don't know what he thought, but he didn't tell me. And this is the complete conversation. He said, "Well, son, if you're going to run a business, you have to make sure that you realize that your employees are the main asset of the business. It doesn't matter what it is. They are the main asset. They are the driver of success, and you must treat them like gold. That is mandatory. Secondly, you have to provide the best service that you possibly can. No matter what you're doing, your customers deserve that you excel in how you treat and deliver service to them." And he said, "If the profit, the income, that'll be a byproduct. That'll work itself out. If you focus on that, you've failed." And my dad stood up. I stood up. He gave me a big hug, side hug though. It was a side hug, we didn't full-on hug in my family. It was side hugs. But side hugged me and said he told me he loved me, and he drove off. And that was the whole conversation. And that And by the way, when my dad told me, he was staring, my dad had really blue eyes, staring deep into my soul when he was telling me this. This was not a casual conversation. He was dead serious about this. And anything my dad did, he was serious about it, and he meant business. The way he acted, the way he treated people, the way he worked, the way he did a job at home, the way he lived by example, he meant business, always meant business. And I knew that, and I knew he was saying more than what he was saying. He was committing me to that. He was making sure that I knew that he expected that out of me in a way that it literally sunk into my heart and my soul. And one of the best lessons in life ever, that little conversation.
So, I mean, we could literally go all day on that journey, from that day till Vivint, but I don't actually want to touch any of it other than it was $13.5 billion of market cap created in 25 years. I mean, it was, and yeah, give it up for that. That's,
Thank you.
and hundreds of thousands of people that were able to experience being treated like gold. And another thing, so we professionally now we raise money, and we raise it from high net worths and family offices. And so we had this, experience where we were like, the Vivint people invest a lot of money. They all make a lot of money, and other door-to-door companies make a lot of money. And we're like, what other big tech companies and companies are in Utah? There's big exits happening. We need to go meet the founders of, and the senior people of these companies. And we go out and we're working with some local companies and meeting with the senior people, and they're not investing any money with us. And then one of them kind of levels with us, and he just said, the equity didn't really get divided in our company. And it was this like aha moment where at Vivint, you guys spread it really broad. And there was hundreds of millionaires created in the Blackstone transaction, the Vivint IPO, Vivint Solar, and Sunrun. There was just this last one with NRG. Why did you do it that way? Like, why did you make a choice that I'm going to take the equity and I'm going to spread it broad and I'm going to have a lot of people win if I win? Because it's a big choice, and there's founders in this room that are going to have the same. What was it? What was the? Look,
I mean, back to what my dad said about the people you're in. And by the way, I didn't look at you. You know this. I didn't look at you as an employee. I didn't look at people that worked in the call center as an employee. There are people I worked with. There are people that I battled with and battled, other, issues with. I tried to do what my dad said, which is treat people like gold. And for me, my objective every day at work was to make sure I felt like I was helping people win and accomplish what they wanted to in their lives individually. And again, I'm not saying I was perfect at it, but for me, one-on-one success and interaction and involvement is critical. Sometimes I spent a little bit too much time with individuals, I think, and didn't work on the broad company enough. But people matter to me, and they just do. I mean, that's how I was raised. It's what my wife expects out of me. So when any time that we were building a business or making runs or involved, it was mandatory in my mind that if I won, we all won. And if only I won, we didn't win. And the reality is, I'm going to tell you this, and you've probably heard it. I haven't been at the conference. I'm assuming anyone that's spoken that has some money has said this. There are great having capital and having financial capability and success, it's awesome. I mean, there is no doubt. I'd rather have that than struggle. But having lots and lots of money and more than everyone else, there is a limitation on how much happiness or assistance in happiness that financial success can give you. So for me, what gives me great pride is all of us. I mean, Casey, watching what you've done, and people I don't need to name names, but people I'm running into in the halls. A call I had yesterday with a guy that had been at Vivint and now has a massive solar company. The success generated from good people focused on the right thing and the right environment and do the right thing, including having good financial success. But that's the only thing that matters. That's all that matters. That's the win. When all of these things happen, my wife and I don't usually even talk about our exits for days a lot of times. But the pride I get is, watching people like you, Casey, excel and exceed what I think you thought your expectations were of yourself when you were younger. And now, based on what you learned and what you did and the time you put into Vivint and the time you put into shaping your career and your talent, man, the sky's the limit now.
When we started and we said, hey, Todd is the reason we're holding this conference, it's that. It's being a young kid not believing in myself and having somebody that believed in me more than I believed in myself that gives you the confidence to try. And also just a mentor along the way. I mean, this is switching gears a little bit, but the theme of we wanted to make sure with this conference that it was holistic, because that's just how life is. Life is everything, God, the community, your money, your finances, it's all the same thing. It all works together. And Chelsea's on the front row, but I remember when we met you and Andy, one of the things that I was struck by was that you guys were still in love. Like, you guys loved each other. Like little kids, you know what I mean? It was like this, there was this romance, and I remember we were talking, we were just like, man, I want to be like that when I'm old. Like when we're married for 18 years old, and Todd, when I met Todd, Todd's 40. I thought he was really old, now I'm 40. But I remember just saying, like, man, they have like a really special marriage. They're really like sweet to each other, and they're like, and they talk about things, and when we came to work for Todd, it wasn't meeting just with Todd. Like, Andy was in the room till daylight.
Yeah.
Was it just always that way? Like, talk about, we're talking about money, but talk about, and I know that there's been struggles along the way, and I think you value the good times because you have the hard times. Like, talk a little bit about how marriage and also family fits into the equation for you.
I mean, this is a big conversation. We could talk about this for a long time, but I will say this, at the very beginning of our marriage, we had a very open, dialogue about kind of the dream I had of what I wanted to build. And by the way, I didn't dream big enough initially. I'd tell Andy some of the things I wanted to accomplish, like, from a financial perspective or growth perspective. And she was all in all the time. And I'm gonna say, in a way that I don't think can be replicated. The amount of hours that I worked, and again, back to people, I wanted and was willing to have people come to my home. Casey, you're a part of it. After work, 10 o'clock at night Andy would open our home up, and it was 10 o'clock till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 7, 8 in the morning sometimes. And candles would be lit in the home, treats out, and Andy I don't even know why, she'd sit and listen to every single one of them. And I would say that we were in it together. I may have been the one going to work, but she was in it with me and supporting, and not just supporting, but pushing. I had some, we won't get into the details, but I've had some times in the last 28 years of marriage where I could barely function, mentally, spiritually, physically. So down, so out, lacking so much confidence that all I had was some belief in God. And in times that was even tough. But I had Andy pushing me and at times demanding that I lift myself up and deliver, because she'd always tell me, you've promised people that you would give them everything you have. And there were times where I didn't have it all. But she knew I did somewhere deep inside and would help pull that out of me and get that going. So I'm going to tell you, like, I'm like everyone else. I've had times where, man, I'm on fire. I'm unstoppable. But there are times based on circumstances that have happened in my life where the fire was gone. And that lady there and my children, Sydney and Jake and Ellen, Ava, and Dean, were full support. Now, I will say that, and I think you know this, for me, and I'm not perfect at this, but what I tried to do, I attempted to do, and again, this is a lesson from my mom. When I came home, when I wasn't on the road, I tried to give my family full attention for some number of hours. It wasn't very many. I didn't have very many hours, but I tried my best to put work aside, put the phone aside, cell phone aside, emails aside for a couple of hours until they kind of went to bed, and then it was game on again. So this was a family effort. I could not have done any of that without their full support. And so I love them for that, and I couldn't have done it. But and I'd make Andy stand up, come up here. But I don't see any stairs. Have her sit in my lap. But
Jesse, yeah, give it up for Andy. So Jesse Itzler last night, one of the questions we asked him was about habits, and he was talking about habits. And I was thinking about habits that I have in my life that were influenced by you, and two of them, one of them, when there's dishes to be done, like, I still remember, like, being in, like, growing up, and I just, like, didn't feel like it was my job to do the dishes. We had, 7 kids in the family, and my mom was just, like, all over it all the time, and had older siblings, and just, I don't know, it was like my right not to do the dishes. I don't know if it was ego or whatever. And I remember, like, you said, I do the dishes. Like, and it was a service thing. It was like, I'm gonna, like, get in. And I remember, I'm like, well, Todd does the dishes, I'm doing the dishes. And so, like, when they're there, I, like, make a concerted effort to do the dishes. And I think the second one was, and I go through cycles on this, but when I'm good at it, I'll turn off my phone at night. And that's when I'm the best version of myself, is when I'm present. And that was something that you told me that your mom had kind of got after you at one point. Maybe share a little bit on that and kind of how it impacted how you raised your kids.
I'm going to try to tell this quick because our time's, like, we're
clipping.
We're tight. But these are, so Sydney was just born, and my parents are amazing, by the way, because the things that we could dig deep into. I didn't listen to them when I was growing up at all, but I heard them and I observed them, and I'm learning still from them. But Sydney's born. My mom came to help. We lived in Alpine. My mom came to help out the first couple of weeks with Sydney because we didn't know how to take care of kids. Cell phones had just come out, and I had this big Motorola phone. It was a flip phone. I loved it. I loved opening it. It was like I was addicted to it. I could flip it open. Anyway, I roll in, I'm Mr. Businessman. I roll in, walk in the house. My mom was in the kitchen behind the counter, doing, what do you do with kids? It's kind of like that kind of thing, like whatever, rocking her. And I'm doing business, important business, and making some money on my phone, I'm so important. That's what she's hearing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm so cool. I've got a phone. And my mom's just staring at me. She doesn't hear what I'm saying. She's just seeing that I'm being an idiot. Anyway, I hang up, got my deal done, clip my phone. All right, I probably shut it like this, fripp, in the pocket because it was cool. And my mom, she's like, "What are you doing?" And she hears, "I'm just doing business, making some money." And I'm like, "Oh, I just had a business call." And she said, she pointed at me, "Don't you ever walk in this house again and disrespect your family that way. When you come into this home, you're a husband and a father. You're not a CEO. No one in here cares about that." She walked away. And Andy's sitting there. That was, how old are you, Sid? 25? That was 25 years ago. I do not believe in 25 years I've walked into her home on my cell phone, on a call. I many times drove up into the driveway on a call, finishing the call with my kids banging on the window desperately, and I'm like, because I didn't want to disrespect my family walking into the home, walking past the dishes, walking past dinner being made, being able to help, not focused on them. It was one of the greatest lessons that my mom could have given me, ever gave me. And I believe that's one of the things like that helped. It was in the home. Where would I put my phone, hon? When I came inside? In the what? In the bathroom on the counter. I would literally go put my phone away, not in my pocket, on the counter, and let it sit for some number of hours, kind of the same process, to try to be engaged. Was I perfectly engaged? No, but I attempted. The other thing that I would say, and I'm just going to say it, that I think has helped me, and it helped me, in the business and being present with my family. I've never had social media. I know people use it, and it can be used for good and promoting business and staying in touch with people, but it also, and I'm going to not make you raise your hands, but there are those of you that are spending 2, 3, 5, 6 hours every day on social media, and I can assure you that if you're doing that, you're lacking ability to have time and interaction with the people around you that matter. And that might be your family, it could be your friends, associates, it could be the business that you're supposed to be running, and the people you're supposed to be paying attention to, and the issues that you have at hand, and you're distracted because this computer bot knows you better than you do and keeps feeding you garbage. So that's my anti-social media pitch, but I don't have it, I've never had it, and I've been just fine without it. And look, from a healthy mental state, because I've dealt with sadness. I've never had depression, but I've dealt with extreme sadness and hurt and suffering. With me personally, and some issues that my wife has been through, that some of you that know us, she's gone through. I just think it adds to that negativity. It's not there for a positive uplift for the most part. And I understand it's used, but I'd challenge all of you, everyone in here, to figure out how to declutter your life of social media. Things that are distracting you from what's important right in front of you, and not paying attention to what you don't have and what life isn't giving you, or how much better other people's lives. Because that's what I've seen, because people show me posts, that's what it looks like to me. So that's the challenge. That's one of the challenges. I'll have one more, but sorry to
It's really good. I'm actually thinking I need to use less social media. So that's.
I mean,
it's a personal.
It's you get out of whatever you get out of whatever you focus on, and if you're not learning from something, or it's not driving whatever you're trying to go towards, you're getting garbage. And the other way I think about it is, if I'm on social media, they're getting paid. I don't like doing things in my life where someone else is getting paid and I'm not getting paid. That's my greedy side. So those social media companies are getting paid, and they're paying you nothing, and you're willing to like get them paid without getting paid. Unless you're an influencer, I think that's garbage. So, anyway.
We're gonna go a little long because the part of this that I want to get to. So the theme of this conference, when we got started, is the secret to living is giving, and specifically we chose primary promise. And this was one that you and Andy, you've been involved with IHC forever. You're on the board. After the Blackstone transaction, you gave a large donation, build the Pedersen Tower. Talk a little bit about kind of why you chose that project to be your legacy, and why that's been your biggest donation that you guys have ever focused your capital.
Well, look, those of you who have the means to do something bigger like that, I think we must do that. That's like mandatory in life, that when we've been given a lot, that we're required to give back. That's a requirement. That should be in our DNA. Anyone that's trying to push it further and do more, which in the end might give you more resources, it's mandatory to have that mindset of giving back and helping lift other people. That's mandatory. The build up to to this donation is, again, I feel like our family's been fortunate in our ability to be involved in lots of different things, lots of charities and things that we could give gifts to, financial gifts to, that have helped. What I think we've figured out over the years, after doing a lot of supporting a lot of different causes, is that it's important when you're giving to give in a way that will have long-lasting impacts to a lot of lives and help the most people possible. There are things that you can do that are nice. They're niceties. They're nice, charitable things that you can work on, but they're not lasting. When you talk about primary children's in particular, and even the first hospital wing that my wife donated money to build, it's actually right here in Provo. The number of people that have been impacted by that building and the facilities and the care that's given is astounding. I get so many texts from people that are there, and look, all we did was give money. We're not doctors. We're not there delivering the service, but we help provide the facilities to do it right. That's meant a lot to our family. When the primary children's hospital was announced, and we heard that the Millers were going to support that with a $50 million donation, that's just astounding. That's leading from the front for the state of Utah as an example, as a family that is saying, hey, look, we're not just saying do what's right, do what will impact others. We're going to do it, and we're going to make that happen. So Gail Miller reached out through her team, and they kind of prepped us for what they were going to be asking for. And my wife and my family, we sat down, we had a little presentation on our table, and we had a big conversation over what do we want to do from an impact perspective, from a giving and charitable contribution perspective with our family for our future. And we really went through the process of, is this something that we want to support? How is this going to impact the community? How could this change people's lives? And the answer was, this we're interested. We want to do this. We think we want to do this. Well, Andy and I drove up to Salt Lake, and we went to Gail Miller's home. It's a big, huge condo. And we sat down, and it was like super formal. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And they had a big presentation. Some people from IHC had a presentation. And then we had scones, these big, you remember those big scones? And we had forks and knives. And I'm like, and they're crunchy scones. I'm like, I'm from Idaho, so I'm like, I don't know how to attack this thing. Like, do I eat it with a fork and a knife because it's crunchy, or was picking it up all right? I was kind of struggling a little bit. I ended up picking it up, eating it with my hands, but I don't know, I probably still wasn't right. But anyway, they were really good scones, though. The presentation starts, and they're flipping through a few, parts of the presentation, and Andy starts bawling, like tears streaming. And anyway, they actually were asking for $25 million, if you remember, Andy, and which is, that's a big, even for us, it's a big contribution. That's a big commitment. And so anyway, Andy's crying. She's bawling, tears are streaming based on the presentation and what they're showing, and some of these children, and the benefit and the care that's being delivered, and the impact that it's having, and it could have. She's crying. And they keep going. They're just charging. They're just going to close this. They want to finish this presentation. So I stopped them and I said, "Hey, look, I think it's a yes. My wife's bawling. Why don't you stop right now and just ask her if she wants to do this? Because I think she's all in. She's bawling." Like, they obviously don't know how to do sales. It was like the deal was done. If y'all do sales and someone says yes, you don't keep going. You don't keep selling. You close. I know that. So anyway, and that's exactly what I said to them. And I helped them ask Andy if that was what she wanted to do. She ended up, there was another project that needed to be funded of $10 million, and she ended up committing to donate $35 million instead of $25 million. So, and look, when you have money and resources, it doesn't matter if you have some money or lots of money. There are decisions you can make in your life to improve where you live, what car you're driving, what boats you own, what houseboat, what things you can get, assets. And I'm not saying those are bad. We have them. But if along the way in the journey that you're making, you're not giving in a way that stretches you, that maybe even stresses you out a little bit along the way, you're not going to be in a mindset when the bigger impactful things come and you have the resources to give, you're probably not going to. Life doesn't usually work like that. You build the muscle of giving just like working out. It doesn't happen in one exercise. It happens over a lifetime of commitment. And so my challenge to you all, and in any way you can, no matter what your circumstance is financially, you've got to start giving. You have to have that mindset. Sometimes it's as simple as, and some of my favorite, at the gas station. I've never worked at a gas station. I've actually been intrigued by work. I like the social aspect of gas stations. I know it sounds weird. I actually do. I've thought about going to work at Will's Pit Stop because I don't have a job right now. It's my favorite spot. And I think I could improve sales of all the. I'm so weird. But I don't. Would you let me work there? I don't know. I don't even care if I get paid. But when I go to I'm just gonna tell you, when I go to the gas station, I always pay with a $100 bill. Sometimes it's more, but always with a $100 bill. And I leave the change. I always leave the change. I've been doing that for so many years. And Andy and I, this isn't to brag, it's to tell you that Again, this is back to my mission president and my parents. They were very giving of time, not necessarily money, because it's not just money, it's time. But you've got to start that muscle of giving, and you've got to do it in a way that challenges you and pushes you, and maybe, again, like I said, stresses you out. So start it now, do it now. If you have the resources, big resources, we're trying to raise a lot of money for this hospital. It started out at a big number, like $300 million, and ended up being $600 million. That's the overall goal that IHC is trying to raise for this hospital. You guys have committed how much, Casey? Are you committing?
We're saving that for later.
Oh, are you going to?
Yeah,
you are.
We're going to commit.
What I would say is, whatever that number is, this would be my hope. This would be like a dream. Whatever he and Dave are going to commit today, that this crowd right here combined matches what they do. That's
I like that.
That's not a big stretch. That you all match in some way whatever they're going to do. That would be impactful. That would be something special. Everyone coming together in a situation that we don't all get to participate in often. There's a lot of people that have shared great insight on life, on perspective, on how to have happiness or try to chase the right type of happiness in life. And so let's end this. When you end this, I don't know if maybe you were going to ask them for more than that. I don't know.
We're asking now. I think the theme of this thing and the reason that we want you to come is, one, you built a tremendous life for yourself by being productive, by being prudent, by working hard, and you build a lot of wealth. But you've also built the lives of a lot of people. You build a great family, and you've just you're a light to me on giving. My life is shaped on a daily basis on these habits of giving. I carry around a bag with $100 bills because I saw you doing it. And I give it away, every time I have the chance, and it's changed my life. It's these special moments that I get on a daily basis that are magical for me. And so, the ask to everybody, and we'll finish it with this. The secret to living is giving, and the wealthiest people that I've ever met are the most generous and they're the most abundant. And I don't know how it works, but you won't be less wealthy by giving. It just comes back to you, and it comes back to you in ways that you can't quantify in a spreadsheet. And so I want to tell Todd thank you, and if anybody in this room, if you've had a personal interaction where he's touched your life, maybe cheer extra hard, but let's tell Todd thanks together. Thank you for your time. All right, brother.
You're a stud.
Thank you.
Thank you.